Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio, your home where you can win up to $5,000. Listen at 6 a.m., 8 a.m., and 3 p.m. for your chance to win. Joining us now is the mayor of the great city of Nampa, Debbie Kling from Washington, D.C. Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin.
So you're in Washington, D.C. You're missing all the fun back here. What's going on, man?
You know, actually attending the White House actually invited the Women Mayors of America to come join them for a briefing and an update and some discussion about what's going on in the country. And it was a nonpartisan group. It was both sides of the aisle, but it was a great, great meeting.
Well, what did you learn?
Well, I tell you what, when I walked away from the afternoon, I thought I'm impressed by the work that is being done by this administration. You know, one of the areas that we talk a lot about, tax reform, and that was a high priority, and I think it was accomplished this past year. And the other top issue is our nation's infrastructure, funding for infrastructure. And that's going to be focused on next year. But, you know, the thing I came away with was the fact that they think that the local government, state government, they're trying to push decisions down. They realize that the work that gets done is done at the local level by the people. And I appreciate that.
Indeed. As we take a look at this, Mayor Kling, what was it like? I guess you had some speakers and such. Kellyanne Conway was there. Can you go through the day?
Well, the morning started with Vice President Pence, and it was great to hear from him. And then he had the privilege of introducing his wife, the second lady. And she's, you know, how different first ladies and second ladies have platforms. One of her platforms is the hiring of military spouses. So she talks predominantly about that it's important because when a military person is transferred across the country, they have a spouse many times that comes with them, and they're looking for a new job. And so that's kind of what her focus was. We also listened to Secretary Betsy DeVos, U.S. Department of Education, and, you know, what she talked about was great because I thought it was collaboration and apprenticeships and internships and workforce development. And I was so proud, really, of our community because we're already going there. Many of the discussions that were taking place are things that we have organized around. Like back when I was at the chamber, we had our business council, our education council that, and this is not about me, but just saying the work that's being done with our, our business council and education council working together. Because the thing that we had noticed was sometimes business and education don't speak the same language, and we have to have an educated workforce as we move forward. Well, that was exactly what she was talking about, and it's something that we're already working on, so that was great. The administrator of the U.S. Small Business Administration, Linda McMahon, great discussion about small business. And then the panels, I have to say, there were two different panels, one on workforce and economic development, and then a shared priorities panel. The panel with Kellyanne Conway, Shakira Knight, she's the Director of Legislative Affairs and Assistant to the President, and Mercedes Schlapp is a Senior Advisor for Strategic Communication. I was just so impressed as I listened. So the administration's working to tear down various agency silos and get agencies to work more efficiently together. Good priority, right?
I would say.
They understand the work and that the greatest impact is at the local level and that economic development is key to the success of the community. And again, I just said this, but listening to the speakers say how important it was for local government to work with business, local developers, local chambers, it was so affirming to me because it's a direction that we're going. And then they ended by saying, you know what, there's a push for accountability and transparency in federal government. And so I walked away being very proud of the work that's being done. They're getting a lot done, sometimes contrary to what you hear, all the negatives. There is some great work being done in D.C. by some really sharp people.
The mayor of Nampa, Debbie Kling, joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. So you had a special visitor yesterday.
At our meeting, yes.
A surprise visitor.
Yes, we did. And I have to say the day ended with a surprise opportunity, and that was because we were in a secure building that the public's doesn't have the opportunity to be in. I actually got to walk into the vice president's office and spend about 30 minutes with one of his deputy assistants and tour his office and the second lady's office. Oh, my goodness. That was an absolute treat to get to do so. And then step out on the veranda that looks over the West Wing and watch the president take off in his helicopter with Marine One and Marine Two following him. So that was just amazing. It was a great end to a great day.
Amazing. What does it mean for Nampa for you to be in D.C. at this conference? How will this improve the city?
You know, I think in a couple of ways. One, to hear the work of the administration and how important it is, the work that we're doing, and that there's good communication. But the day before, I had 5 different meetings, met with 3 of our congressional offices and their staff, had a meeting with the EPA on Wednesday, and that was a meeting with a few D.C. people, but then it was a conference call with our Region 10 administrative team out of Seattle and the Boise EPA office, the Idaho Department of Environmental Quality here in Boise. There was a big group on the phone talking about the regulatory environment for our wastewater treatment facility plant and where to go with that and our challenges with Indian Creek and just the cost of regulation on a city, as we well know. All of those meetings were critical because the one thing I realized is relationships are so important to getting things done. And we have people working on our behalf in our congressional teams, and they're there to advocate on behalf of us, and then building relationships with the EPA because you can't get anything done. You know, you can get things done, but it's a lot harder if you don't know people and you don't put a face and a name together. And I think that we were able to raise the visibility and the importance of what these regulations are doing at the local community level. And there's some new people in leadership there, and I look forward to seeing what's going to happen there.
Well, Mayor Kling, we look forward to getting more reports from you. Safe travels home. Anything else you'd like to share with us this morning?
You know, Kevin, I just want to thank you for being a voice. You do such a great job, and I think sometimes we hear so much negative about what's happening in D.C. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share that, you know what, there's some good stuff happening, and we need to recognize that. So thank you so much, and thank you for your voice, and you have a great day. You too. Take care. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Our great friend, the mayor of Nampa, Debbie Kling, joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning here on KIDO Talk Radio. And I want to thank our friend Lori for the email that she sent me. And I want to thank Lori for the follow-up phone call that she just had, if you missed it last hour. And this is going to be personal. This is going to hurt. But we would not be doing our jobs with you if we did not discuss this. So I'm looking on the Facebook site of the Idaho Coalition Against Sexual and Domestic Violence. Now, we, like every other responsible person in Idaho, we want people to report these things. We want to stop sexual, domestic violence and everything else. Right? That is important. Well, there's a new message coming out from the Idaho Coalition Against Sexual and Domestic Violence, and you can see it on Facebook. And they've linked to a petition from change.org, and they have 3 15-year-old girls that are, I guess, sending a letter to Christine Blasey Ford. Quote, "We feel connected to the 15-year-old girl still living inside of you and are outraged by the 17-year-old boy still living inside of him." And these are young women that have put their names and faces in this Facebook ad. And here's just a little sample of it. "We know the possibility of Kavanaugh being in a powerful position has made it necessary to you to speak up, yet we haven't heard if you will testify on Monday. We know how scary that must feel, and we know you are probably tired of people feeling things for you. We hope you will take this chance to make your voice heard, to speak on your own terms, in your own way. We hope you will do this for yourself, for other 15-year-old girls
You never deserve this. Now, again, this is on the Facebook site of the Idaho Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence, Abuse. You speaking up is powerful. We can't trust Kavanaugh to make decisions that will impact girls. He has not been accountable for the sexual assault. We realize the effects of what happened are impacting him as it has impacted you, only he has not been living with consequences. He denied it ever happened. 15 should never be traumatic. Fun for boys should never include exploiting girls. And then it goes on and on. It's signed by these 3 15-year-olds. Now, I'm sitting here as a defender of the faith, as a defender of folks. Now, I don't know if this is a national campaign. I hope that it would be. I would hope that it's just a national thing that the Idaho Coalition Against Sexual and Domestic Violence picked up. But to have 3 15-year-old girls, and maybe they are from Idaho, maybe they, all you have to do in life, and this is sad, regardless if you're a man or a woman, all you have to do in life is falsely accuse someone of a crime. And they are forever tarnished, and you have these 15-year-olds supposedly writing this letter on their own, wanting people to sign a petition from change.org to have Dr. Ford, who has credibility issues to begin with, they believe her, and they're already besmirching a father, a husband, a person of integrity, a person who has done much for his community and charitable giving, who loves God. And we already have innocent 15-year-old girls on this website, Facebook, Idaho Coalition Against Sexual and Domestic Violence, engaging voices, creating change, believing and saying that Kavanaugh did it. We can't trust Kavanaugh to make decisions that will impact girls. He has not been held accountable for the sexual assault. Judge Kavanaugh is a father of 2 girls. He's been married for how many years? And yet here we have these 15-year-olds promoted by the Idaho Coalition Against Sexual and Domestic Violence already condemning this man. This is mob rule. This is wrong. Now, again, the Idaho Coalition Against Sexual and Domestic Violence, they do a lot of good things. To get involved in this, to have these girls make these false allegations is wrong. Getting involved in politics, there is no proof. Repeat, there is no proof. So in other words, somebody could go up to anyone and make false claims. The people that are around these 3 girls should be ashamed of themselves for not teaching them critical thinking skills, for vilifying every man that walks God's green earth, in my opinion. I won't say their names. It's on Facebook. It is simply wrong. Now, maybe you agree with some people. Emily thanks the letters for being amazing and powerful. Thank you, the Idaho Coalition Against Sexual and Domestic Violence, for elevating their voices. Stay standing. This affects us all. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Can anyone agree with this? Of course not. This is just wrong. I'd like to hear what you have to say next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Heather in Meridian. Good morning, Heather. Hello, Heather.
Hi, this is Heather.
Well, hi, Heather. Go ahead, please.
Okay, sorry. I'm a first-time caller, and my husband and I always listen to you in the mornings when we're shuffling off to work and dropping the kids off, so it's great to get a hold of you. I just wanted to call in because I keep hearing women defending this accusation from the accuser, and I just, as a woman, just because I'm a woman doesn't mean that I necessarily side with the woman. I deeply feel horrible for Kavanaugh, and I just, You're right. I feel like women can come out and say whatever they want because they're women and people automatically side with them. And so I just wanted to be a woman caller saying, you're innocent until proven guilty, right? And all these people jumping on the bandwagon saying he's guilty, 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 I just think is really unfair because he's a man. So we just assume he's guilty. And I just go along with, I have a son, and I worry about the future that he's going to grow up. And because I do feel like, you know, people say there's a war on women. I feel like there's a war on men. And I feel like we just really need to, like, calm down, stop politicizing everything, and, you know, kind of get to the truth. But I also think that this is a playbook, you know, that the Democrats use. They've done it to every Republican, accused them of sexual harassment. They did it with Trump. They've done it with Herman Cain. I mean, that's just kind of their playbook. So it's unfortunate, but I just wanted to be a woman caller who believes that Kavanaugh is innocent until proven guilty, and we shouldn't jump the gun because it hasn't been we've seen it happen with the Duke players. We've seen it happen in history. So that's all.
Well, Heather, my best to you, your family, and your husband. Thank you for listening.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Jim in Boise with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning. I agree to a certain extent with the girl's letter. Not completely. I need to finish my thought. The strength it takes to do it and to discourage this, which does happen. But as the previous caller was saying, I think they're lacking the presumption of guilt or innocence. They just, like you said before, just making him guilty. If he'd already been found guilty or there's evidence of it, and they wrote this letter and he's not getting any negative treatment, I'd be all on their side. But there's no proof of it. I mean, if she comes forward and testifies and there's something to it, I'm all for backing up their statement. But until that happens, I can't back up what they're saying. But I do encourage them to have the strength and fortitude to stand up against this kind of thing, which does happen, but to not do it before they know whether or not he's guilty, which is what's lacking.
Well, I just find it very disturbing that you have 3 15-year-olds promoted by the Idaho Sexual Coalition Against Sexual and Domestic Violence coming out and condemning a father and a husband with no evidence, with no substantiation. And, this, to me, this letter is nothing but sheer ignorance.
Well, I agree with your statement, and I agree that they have not been taught. I think that's what they're lacking. They don't know, innocent until proven guilty. I don't think that they are aware of that, or if they are, they don't care. I think they're trying to have the empowerment side of things, which I get. I mean, my wife, when she was younger, my sister, and I've had other female friends that have gone through these kind of things, and it's difficult to have the strength and courage to say something, but they did say something when it happened, and things that just happened against the men that did this to them. And I encourage women to stand up and stay forward. And I have nothing against Miss Ford even wanting to say something. I agree with you on her credibility issues, but at the same time, if there's something to it, I encourage her to come forward and say something. But that being the case, go forward and say something. If you're just making it up, then it hurts every woman who's gone through this, which is what angers my wife. My wife doesn't think anything's to it. I don't either. And that's what makes her mad, because my wife has gone through this, my sister as well. And they are upset that nothing is being done about the ones that have gone through something and nothing gets done. And this woman was probably, unfortunately, making it up just to damage his reputation and his appointment. It angers women that I know immensely, like your previous caller.
Jim, great points. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And look, they don't have it on their website, but on their Facebook they do. And I believe that the Idaho Coalition Against Sexual and Domestic Violence, they do good work. That stuff has to be stopped. But to promote a letter by 3 15-year-olds, whether they're in Idaho or it's a national thing, and to condemn Judge Kavanaugh, well, which is worse? Being a person that is rightfully guilty of sexual and domestic violence, or someone who is accused? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. What we're forgetting here is that you have a man who's a dad to 2 girls, who coaches girls basketball. You can never disprove the negative. And that's exactly what Senator Mazie Hirono is doing, Gillibrand and others. Is it that important to them to keep pro-choice rolling? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Traffic and weather together.
Jim Ducey.
And I'm Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So here we have Dr. Ford, who comes out of nowhere accusing an innocent man, and he is innocent until proven guilty. And now we have the Idaho Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence having this letter on their Facebook, not on their website. And I would urge you to go to their website. I would urge you to let them know how you feel about this. Look, this is just plain wrong. And I love this. These 15-year-old girls have condemned Judge Kavanaugh. What are we teaching these kids? That men are substandard humans that are just prone to this? And we're going to judge people? Then, again, none of us will be worthy. None of us will be worthy by the Democratic standards. Heck, even Cory Booker has been accused. Mr. I'm going to have my Spartacus moment. He had some issues with some women. Yet he, without sin, cast the first stone, Senator Mazie. More on this coming up. I want to hear what you have to say next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Remember, we always want to hear what you have to say. 580-5436. 580-KIDO. As we continue on with this Judge Kavanaugh thing, do want to get more of your thoughts concerning the Idaho Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence and their Facebook site having 3 15-year-old girls saying they believe Dr. Ford. Is this a sign of the apocalypse, and where is the presumption of innocence? If you want a link to that, you can go to the Kevin Miller Show Facebook, and you can check that out as well. In an unrelated note, I want to thank the Boise Police Department. They finally came up with their lip sync challenge. You should check it out on their Facebook site. Very powerful, entertaining, and emotional. Big ups to the Boise PD. Check that out on Facebook. Joining us now from our house to Capitol Hill, from our hill to Capitol Hill, Rachel Sutherland joins us. Fox News Radio. Good morning, Rachel.
Hey, good morning, Kevin.
So here's a story that seems to change every second, faster than the president can tweet about it. Will she or won't she testify?
Yeah, the president has been tweeting about this just moments ago, talking about Christine Blasey Ford, saying, I have no doubt that if the attack on Dr. Ford was as bad as she says, charges would have been immediately filed with the local law enforcement authorities, either by her or her loving parents. I asked if she brings those filings forward so we can learn date, time, and place. Dr. Ford has said that she never really spoke of it, and we know that, as far as we know, there were no charges pressed at the time. So the president, though, also calling Judge Kavanaugh a fine man on Twitter with an impeccable reputation under assault by radical left-wing politicians. One thing's for sure, Kevin, we're still waiting to hear Chuck Grassley, the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, his response to a list of conditions that Dr. Ford's lawyer sent over. She, for instance, she doesn't want to do it on Monday, so it's maybe one day next week, possibly Thursday. She doesn't want to be in the same room with Judge Kavanaugh, and she'd like him to go first, so she kind of wants to have the last word. She also doesn't want an outside lawyer brought in to ask the questions. She wants it to be members of the Senate Judiciary Committee. So right now, the situation is awaiting Chuck Grassley's response. Will he move the hearing time and place? Will he go with her conditions or not?
Right, and it seems like the conditions continue to change. It does seem highly unusual that for someone who's coming up with these allegations over 30 years is making demands on the United States Senate, which, as you know, Rachel, they're pretty much a highfalutin crew.
Well, yeah, the Senate, it's up to Republicans, whether they are going to meet her demands. And I would imagine when Chuck Grassley emerges from meeting with staffers that he will probably maybe agree to some of them and not all, that kind of thing. That's how negotiations tend to work. I think in some of these cases, people say, well, people who testified before members of Congress don't go through these negotiations, but I would take issue with that. I think that in this case, these negotiations are just playing out in Technicolor. Everything is so highly publicized with this case that every move in it is immediately reported, as it should be. This is a very big story and a very, very big deal, Kevin.
Indeed. Of course, the sad part about this is that you have somebody pretty much already tried and convicted in the press without, hearing from Dr. Ford. It's interesting that she would not want to have to be in the same room with Judge Kavanaugh, but we could litigate this forever. So you believe that it will be delayed and it might happen Thursday, Rachel?
Well, that's what they're requesting. I mean, Chairman Grassley could always come out and say, no, we're doing this Monday. There's also the possibility if she doesn't want to be in the same room with Kavanaugh, maybe Judge Kavanaugh could come in one day and she comes in the next. There's all kinds of ways this could play out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you'd think they'd want to get it over with in one day. But the thing about this story is, Kevin, it's not going away. Democrats have said that if they were to take back one of the chambers on the Hill, that they'll continue to investigate if he were Justice Kavanaugh, continue to investigate this and possibly try to impeach him.
Impeach a Supreme Court judge.
Yeah, that's what we're hearing out there from some Democrats. And so this story isn't going anywhere. I mean, I think we're going to be talking about it for a very long time.
Well, it's fuel for the midterms, that's for sure.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, we're now just weeks away.
Indeed. Rachel Sutherland, we always enjoy your work. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Kevin.
So what did we learn from Rachel Sutherland? That even if Justice Kavanaugh gets in, they're going to hold hearings and impeach him. They're going to try and impeach the president. This is why, as Eric Trump told you exclusively on KIDO Talk Radio yesterday, not anybody else, but this station, your show with Kevin Miller, that these elections matter. The coup continues. And the fact that they would do this, hold hearings, do you know how difficult it is to be a parent? See, I don't. I opted out of that in life. And I love parents. And the older I get, the more I appreciate parents. And the more I appreciate grandparents and godparents and step-parents and guardians. And people that wear old raggedy clothes and give their kids the new shoes, the better school, the better life that they wanted for themselves. Here you have Brett Kavanaugh. People say that he rivals Scalia when it comes to his judicial knowledge, being utterly destroyed by someone who, as we know, pro-abortion, leftist, anti-Trump, has zero credibility. And every man in America, everyone who loves a man, even the men that love men, should be very scared if they derail Kavanaugh, if they get the House, if they try to impeach him and the president. Is there nothing that they will not stoop to take over? Look, I might as well start my internet marketing firm or my photography business or something else, because we'll be done. They've seen how dangerous you've become here in Idaho listening every morning to the Kevin Miller Show. They see that. And they don't want America to go back to a land of traditional, wholesome American values. They want one gender, maybe even a race, to be treated as second-class citizens, and a religion as second-class citizens, to be marginalized.
She is asking the FBI to investigate her claims.
Now, this is not somebody off the street. This is a sitting United States senator.
She is asking for that kind of review, that investigative work, that oversight, that accountability, because she's telling the truth. Someone who is lying does not ask the FBI to investigate their claims.
Right. Someone who's lying does not want to face their accuser. They go and face their accuser. Is this really what feminism is? Is this what female empowerment is? Because if it is, I'm opting out of it.
This is a fast track. They are totally intent on getting Judge Kavanaugh onto the Supreme Court, come hell or high water.
And you have people that agree with them. Sadly, as we've disclosed, and it's at the Kevin Miller Show Facebook site, you have a letter from three 15-year-olds from the Idaho Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence saying they believe Kavanaugh is bad, that Kavanaugh is a bad guy, and wanting people to sign a petition to urge Dr. Ford to testify. Bring it. But Dr. Kavanaugh should have a right to question and face his accuser. None of these preconditions. Let's do it Monday. Let's bring it. If you're innocent, as Dr. Kavanaugh is, I believe, then bring it. And here's another lesson for the administration. People say that Kavanaugh is brilliant, but he's a Bushy. Just go with Bill Pryor. Go with the other judge, Amy. Because going in the middle of the road doesn't do you any good. It's just like Hamburger Hill. It's just like Animal House. You're going to get in trouble anyway. You might as well go with a full-throttle conservative. Enough of me. Max, good morning. You're on 107.5 FM, 580 AM with KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Max.
Good morning, sir. You know, I've been sitting here speaking with some friends, reviewing this absolutely unprecedented situation. Kevin Miller comes forward and he alleges that there was a problem, that his neighbor attempted to sexually assault him 35 years ago. And he demands that the FBI look at it. And the FBI says, well, this is not our purview. So he demands again. And they say, I'm sorry, sir, it's been too long. And this is an allegation for which you have no facts. We have nothing to go on. So now my friend Kevin Miller runs to the state attorney general, says, you have to help me to investigate this. And the attorney general's office looks at it and says, even if it had happened, it's a misdemeanor. We don't chase misdemeanors 35 years ago. Statutes of limitations are many times gone. So now Kevin goes to the press. They won't even listen to Kevin because Kevin is not attacking a judge about to be named to the Supreme Court. What I want to know is how this little girl has been put in such a position that she can dictate to the United States Senate terms and conditions by which her complaint can be heard. What's going on, Kevin?
Well, not only that, and that is troubling, and you heard Rachel Sutherland try and dance around that. No, you come in on Monday and you testify, and you're not going to tell us how things are going to go. But you have squishy men that don't want to have bad optics. Look, it's going to be bad optics anyway. Just bring it. Just bring it. That's what Donald Trump taught us. Don't be afraid.
The chairman of that committee needs to simply say, look, we're busy. You're busy. We're going to give you an unprecedented chance to address the United States Senate. Be here at Monday at 8 o'clock. If you're 20 minutes late, we're moving on. There will be no chance for redress unless you show extraordinary circumstance. Hit by a car, shot, airplane fell on your head. You came down with lupus. I mean, you better show us a good reason why, but we're going to keep on going and we're going to hold the vote and we're going to get it done. But like you said, these guys they are more limp than wet toast. Good Lord Almighty. If we've got cowards like that in the Senate, it's time to vote, people. You know what? Years ago, there was a group called Throw. Throw the hypocritical rascals out. Bring back Throw, and let's start tossing people. This is insane, Kevin.
I agree.
It's the stuff of a TV series. It's the stuff you watch at noon when you got a broken leg and General Hospital just signed off. This is crazy. But you know what? When Judge Kavanaugh is voted into his position and when Donald Trump sweeps in the next election and when we have a red wave coming this fall, you're going to watch more and more snowflakes go completely ballistic, and I predict that Antifa is going to get on the move and start clobbering people with axe handles again. It's going to be just as bad as 2016. They're going to completely melt down. And liberal Steve, he'll probably stick his head in the oven, but forget that it was an electric oven. Oh, I'm so bad.
Max,
Kevin,
thank you for the call.
Thank you, buddy.
Brian in Nampa, hang on. You're next. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to Brian in Nampa. Brian, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Hey, Kevin. I just needed to clarify a few things, and then I want to make a comment about it. The stipulations were that Kavanaugh goes first, right?
Yes.
And then she doesn't want to be cross-examined by a lawyer. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. Does anybody else see the manipulation going on here? The reason she doesn't want to be cross-examined by a lawyer is she knows her story's going to fall apart. And the reason she wants him to go first is so her people can listen in, write down everything, figure out how to basically destroy his argument so she can win. That's tactics in debate. And I get the not wanting to see him, but I guarantee you my wife, who's had something way worse than this happen to her, would want to see the guy and would want to say, yeah, I'm coming after you, buddy. That's the difference here. And the reason they're doing this is just a tactic. So when the Republicans come back and say, no, we're not going to do this, they can go, oh, see, the Republicans are bad. They're abusing this poor woman again. Vote for Democrats. And I think the Republicans need to do one thing more than this. They need to investigate this fully. And if they find out that she's lying and her story's not straight, she needs to be prosecuted for slander and holding up a Supreme Court judge. I mean, this is ridiculous. They need to go on the offensive here. I know many men. I have a personal friend that was in his 40s that got put in jail for a year by a 14-year-old girl that slept with two 15-year-olds and a 16-year-old, and she followed him into he was an assistant coach in Michigan, followed him into the place where you put the stuff away. And she said to this guy, sleep with me. He said, no, I'm 40. I got a beautiful wife and two kids. She said, if you don't, I'm going to accuse you of rape. And I'm going to get these guys that I've slept with to say they watched and go against you. And she did it. And he went to jail for a year. And his record was not cleared until two of these boys came forward and admitted they slept with the girl and that she had manipulated them into lying. Our country better wake up and realize this sexism thing goes both ways and realize how we're being manipulated. That's what I got, Kevin.
Brian, thank you.
You bet.
All right. Let's go to Priscilla, Mountain Home, with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. I find this insulting and terrifying and deeply disturbing. As a woman, all women, we need to call in. We need to stand up. We need to acknowledge that this is utterly ridiculous. I am a parent. I am a woman, obviously. I'm an adult in this country, and I'm seeing this circus. Now, the reason I wanted to call is because the first thing that occurred to me, what does Dr. Phil always say? You teach people how to treat you. That being said, this isn't about any feminist movement. That's a load of crap, and they all know it. This is a dog and pony show put up on a stage for the entire country, the world, to accept a certain precedence of behavior. And I'm not following this little paraded bandwagon down Main Street. I do not accept that you can stand up and condemn someone to socially destroy this man's life based on a baseless accusation. Yes, she has every right to be heard. She had every right for the past 36 years to be heard. She's had every right to stand up and pursue whatever thread she wants to pursue. She does not have any right to attach any magnetism to that whatsoever. There's a process for these things. She doesn't have any right to manipulate that process. we as a society do not need to stand up and say, oh, but she's a snowflake and she's damaged. So our entire judicial system is going to now pivot on her delicate little feelings. Bullshit. Sorry, I know we're on TV. I've got very delicate feelings. I'm almost 50 years old. I've been through similar situations. I've also overcome them. I've been treated unfairly for being a woman. I've also been treated privileged for being a woman. We all go through different things in life. What we accept, what we project, that's on us. And I've had it. I'm really ticked. I've got a son that is a perfect gentleman. I've got a grandson who's following in his footsteps. This is not okay. This is not okay. So that's what I had to say. Stand up.
Thank you, Priscilla. We appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you too. Have a beautiful day.
You too. And she's right. And we go to the emails, Kevin at KIDOTalkRadio.com from our friend Jim. Kevin, what is blatantly obvious here is that there are a group of folks who have absolutely no interest in the welfare of the people of this country or the country itself. Their only aim seems to be to gain control at any cost. I do not understand citizenry in this country supporting them in any fashion, believing that they will be exempt. Jim, I would agree with you on that. And again, this is why it's important that we continue to engage day in and day out. Blessed to be with you. Hope to be with you for many, many more years. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio, Fox News next. 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning.